Hey guys, welcome to Motoroids. My name is Amit and this is the new Toyota Camry, arguably the best sedan in the premium segment right now. I'm taking out all the German car makers and all the more premium brands that you have there. But if you talk about 50 lakh rupees or thereabout segment, this is the car to beat right now in the sedan segment, and for good reason. This is one of the most comfortable cars out there, and in its facelifted avatar, does this look good or what? You just have to have a look at this car from the outside and you'll be floored. It looks sexy. They said that Toyota cars are not supposed to look all that great, but now the new designs, the Toyota rules. It's really a very sleek design and it turns heads wherever it goes. So today in this video we're going to talk about all the changes that have been incorporated in this car, how it drives, how it feels. Also we'll talk about the key differences between this car and the Skoda Superb, which is rather been relegated, and this car has taken the driver's seat in the segment that it represents. So the big news here is that the battery pack is now a lithium ion unit. Earlier it was a nickel metal unit, and while the battery capacity by itself is the same at about 1 kilowatt hour, please understand that this is a hybrid vehicle and it's not that the battery is used to power the vehicle all through. It's more like a support system which enhances the power wherever needed, and it also helps to extend the fuel efficiency. So that 1 kilowatt hour battery is about sufficient, and now it's lithium ion. So there are two advantages there: A, longevity, and B, the weight of this car has been reduced by a massive 20 kilograms. So it's lighter now and the battery is going to last longer. In terms of power also, the power is up by 12 HP and now it produces 230 HP of power, and the torque is 221 Newton meters, but that number remains the same. However, thanks to the increased power and the reduced weight, this car now does its 0 to 100 time in 7.2 seconds claimed. So all in all, the performance is better, the car is lighter, and while the wheelbase and the overall chassis remains the same, as I mentioned, the styling has been changed and it looks much sexier than it has ever looked. Now, the highlight of this car when you get behind the wheel is its suspension system, and it's unmistakable. The moment you get behind the wheel of this car, the planted feel, the solid steering, and the indestructible kind of feeling that you get is totally unmistakable, and it simply glides over everything. For example, right now you'll see some expansion joints, and any other car would go over these in a rather unsettling kind of manner. This car simply glides over all the undulations, rumble strips, expansion joints, and if you're someone who's looking for comfort, there would be very few cars that can match this car, especially if you're someone who's going to be sitting in the back seat. This is one of the best experiences, and the way it rides, completely squat, very heavy, very solid. As I mentioned, the feeling from behind the steering wheel is absolutely majestic. It's beautiful, and you do feel like you're driving something really special. So the ride quality is fantastic, the handling is fantastic. You feel like you're in control even at speeds which are much higher than triple digit speeds of 100. It feels like it is in supreme control. The grip from the tires is beautiful, the insulation is fantastic, and it feels like it's a very premium, very solid car. Now what Toyota have done is they have tweaked the suspension and made it more compliant for India. The suspension now rides slightly firmer and it's slightly higher also, so even on some of the bad speed breakers, despite its long wheelbase, it does not brush its underbelly. And while it's not as high as the SUVs, it's not a 200 mm clearance, but with the 154 mm laden ground clearance, this car can manage most of the speed breakers and bad roads rather easily. And I went over at least 5-6 really bad speed breakers today and I had no problem whatsoever. So that's one aspect where it has improved. The ride quality again is fantastic. Now talking about the transmission here, the transmission is an eCVT, which is a combination of the motor and a transmission, mechanical transmission system. And as you can hear, there is a bit of stretch. You have 6 gears that you can see here. So the CVT has 6 steps. So if you want to be using these paddle shifters, you'll be able to see up to 6 gears here. But if you put it in D, it will have as many as 10 ratios to swap. So that's something very important that you need to know. If you put it in drive, I have put it in S right now. If you put it in D, you won't be able to see how many steps it has. But since it's a CVT, it has got infinite ratios and it can choose from as many as 10 ratios. Now, you also have Eco, Normal and Sport modes. You can also be in the EV only mode. Obviously, it's not an EV, so it won't drive for tens of kilometers, but for a kilometer or two, you can drive it in EV only mode also. And here is the hold button. So that's about the modes and everything. Now, the more important question that we Indians are always interested in is the fuel efficiency, and the ARI fuel efficiency of this car is 25.49 kilometers per liter. And trust me, if you put it in eco mode and if you drive it gently, you would easily be able to not just match that number but also surpass it. So 25 kmpl is actually achievable on this car, and to get a fuel efficiency of about 20 kmpl on a day-to-day basis is actually very, very doable, and which is amazing for a car which is as well built, as comfortable, and belongs to this class. Talking about the class of this car, this comes with a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder engine with obviously the hybrid that I talked about, and there's no problem with the acceleration. It's a very brisk car, it drives fast, but it's not a car which likes to be hustled. So if you want to be changing the gears very quickly, if you're someone who wants very quick action at the transmission, wants to rev the gears up and drop it down, and you want to be very sporty and aggressive with the car, this transmission system does not support that kind of a demand very well. For that, I think if you're someone who's out and out acceleration, the thrill of driving, someone who wants the transmission to play to his tunes, he wants the transmission to be very, very quick and wants to see the rev needle going up and down without any stretch, I think the Superb is the better car of the two. But for everything else, in terms of fuel efficiency, in terms of the planted feel as well, in terms of comfort, I really think that the Camry feels like a very, very solid car. Again, fun to drive factor, the Superb still rules, and the DSG that you get there really lets you play with the ratios a lot better. The other thing, the insulation on this car is exceptional. As you can see, we are surrounded by trucks and buses. Outside noise, you cannot hear a thing. It's silent. It's like a church right here. However, there is a little bit of tire noise coming in, which could probably have been a little bit better. But the throttle response for part throttle is fantastic. The steering is beautifully weighted. It's got very good weight to it. Feels very solid. And again, as I mentioned, if you don't want to be hustling it too hard, if you're someone who's ready to enjoy briskly driven cars, someone who doesn't want out and out acceleration and aggressive driving, I think this can also be a lot of fun. Responds very well to part throttle and delivers fantastic fuel efficiency, is very brisk, and this is the kind of car which on well paved highways can be a very fast interstate traveler. A few other things that have improved inside the cabin: you get these twin 12.3-inch infotainment as well as MID, and this is how the screen looks. Honestly, it doesn't have any icons or anything. This is exactly how the screen looks when you turn the car on, and this here is the MID. I'll come to that later. It's a reasonably good display, but it can be more intuitive. Another big news is the inclusion of level 2 ADAS here, and now it comes with radar based level 2 ADAS. So you have adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist, and all of those features that you associate with a car this expensive. So that again adds to the safety. It comes with 9 airbags, so it gets 8 airbags, 2 up front, side, curtain, all of those, and it also gets 1 knee airbag. So in terms of safety, no stones have been left unturned and you are pretty safe sitting inside this car. All in all, I really believe that it is a complete car, rides beautifully, drives fantastically well. The only complaint that I have is about the transmission, which feels a little bit lethargic. It is a CVT, it is an eCVT after all, and it cannot quite match the alacrity, the speed and the fun to drive factor of the Skoda Superb. But in isolation, for part throttle, for brisk journeys and for the sheer ride quality of it, and now for the beauty of this car also, this is a league apart. Finally, before I start talking about the exteriors and the interiors, I would want you to know that despite having paddle shifters, even when you're in lower gears, if you have a look at the tacho, it'll shift at about 6000 rpm. I cannot demonstrate it to you right now because there is traffic, but if you're in S, it'll go all the way to 6000 rpm, although the red line is at about 7, but at 6000 rpm it'll shift to the higher gears, and in D it'll do so at a lower rpm at about 5000 rpm. So you really cannot hold on to a gear and it'll shift when the revs go too high. A small refresher about the hybrid system as well. So while the car is stopped, all systems are stopped, and as you start, if the battery is charged enough, the car will run only on EV for some time. As you accelerate, both the petrol power and the electric motor come into play to give it the maximum acceleration possible. And as you decelerate, regen happens and the braking power or the deceleration charges the small electric battery that you have. And all of these systems together, there's a motor also here, all of these systems come together to enhance the fuel efficiency significantly, because if it was only a standalone petrol engine, you would not have been able to get anything more than 10 to 12 kmpl, but it's more than double, especially if you're cruising. And that really highlights why Toyota have always been a proponent of hybrid systems, and they have still not adopted electric cars completely despite being world's #1 car maker. And I personally believe that in the long run, this is the technology which is going to stand the test of the time, and it really works very, very beautifully. It's one of the most eco-friendly systems, and I am also a big proponent of this technology. All in all, the engine and the motor together feel very powerful, and it's a very refined system. However, as I mentioned, it doesn't respond very well to hard throttle inputs, and as long as you're driving with part throttle, soft throttle inputs, it drives very silently. But when you want to hustle it, there is a bit of engine and transmission noise coming into the cabin. Toyota has always been about simplicity and quality, durability, reliability. And if you look at this key, it still is like the keys how they used to be. So you have this Camry branding here and 3 simple buttons: lock, unlock and boot release. No fancy nonsense here. The value of Toyota cars is in its quality, and once you get inside, you do realize that it's a very comfortable space. There are some great features and there are some other features which are missing, but the cabin is unmistakably a Toyota. Of course, you have a sensor. The door handles could have been a little bit more premium. I would have liked them to be chunkier, to be chrome, and this keyhole peeping out here does not look very good in my opinion. This one is the Sprint edition, and as you can see, it looks very sporty. I'll talk about it in a little bit when I talk about the exterior. And here on this edition, you'll get an illumination which is not fitted here. But if you buy the Sprint edition, you'll get illumination here, door open light, and you'll also get ambient lighting, 16 colors, which can be controlled by the app, but that again is not installed on this specific car. So this is the Sprint edition. I'm just letting you know. I'll also tell you the differences, but let's now get inside. And before that, let's have a look at the quality of materials. All of this is soft to touch. This is soft to touch. This is all leatherette, by the way. This is not leather. You also have a puddle lamp, and there is sufficient space for a 1 liter water bottle. This is not very cavernous, but this is sufficient. This is a small 500 ml bottle, and this gets accommodated very easily. You have these satin silver door pulls, 2-way adjustment for the seats, not just the seats, the mirror and the electric steering also get adjusted according to the setting. You also have the open, auto and fold settings for the ORVM, and all the 4 buttons are one touch up and down. Now, the seats for both the front driver and the passenger are 10-way adjustable. You have lumbar support only for front and rear. You don't have it for the up and down functions. And just have a look at the cabin itself. It looks very plush. It's done in this new color, and that's also one of the changes apart from these new 12.3-inch screens that you have here. One look and the cabin looks very sorted, very plush, very premium. And you also have this Camry branding here. Before we get inside, let's also have a look at the buttons that we have here. So you have the adjustment for the beam, you have this auto headlamp. Now since this has ADAS, it comes with auto high beam, so you don't really have to fiddle with the lamp. It comes with auto wipers, of course. Traction control off, 360-degree camera. I'll show you how it looks. This is the brightness, and this is the button for the rear blinds, which are motorized, by the way. Turn the ignition on and the car lights up. You have this new 12.3-inch screen. This is all digital. It is customizable as well. But let me be very honest about it. This can be very cumbersome and confusing. This is not very intuitive. To play around the menus on this screen is one of the toughest experiences that I've had. And there are so many menus. There are so many different areas to go in to change or access information. It gets a little bit tricky and you really have to memorize everything. So this is not one of the most user-friendly systems that I've seen. Coming towards the main infotainment screen, you have a 12.3-inch screen here as well, and it's very minimalistic. As you can see, there is no home screen as such. This is Android Auto and Apple CarPlay wirelessly enabled, but some versions of Android Auto are not functioning here right now. And as you can see, it's very simple typography, and you can just go to various different menus. This is the phone menu, this is the media menu, this is the navigation menu, this is the settings menu. The touch is very nice, but as I mentioned, it's not tiled down. It's very simplistic, very minimalistic. Let's also have a look at the 360-degree camera, and reminds me of the Maruti Suzuki camera units, which allow you to be inside of the car or outside. So when you press this button, you can see the car from outside, and it shows you the car in a very different kind of a fashion. It doesn't allow you to, go up or down and decide exactly where you want to see the car from. It just keeps rotating, and that is different from how you have the 360-degree camera on a lot of other cars. You press this button and then it takes you inside the car, and you can have a look of the car from the surroundings. You can pause it wherever you want, and when you reverse it, you would see that the car comes with dynamic guidelines, and you also get a 360-degree view. You can change this view to wide or narrow as per your choice, and the guidelines are visible here as well. The resolution is pretty decent, but this is not one of the best 360-degree cameras that we have seen. You also get a 2-zone climate control, and the seats are also ventilated and 3-way adjustable. You have physical buttons for climate control, which is fantastic. This also comes with ionizer, so your cabin is always very healthy in terms of air. So you have 2 zones of climate up front, and you have 1 zone at the rear, and you have a dead pedal. As you can see, the seats by themselves are very comfortable, and the steering, by the way, is electric. So when you set the seat, you set the memory. Everything is adjusted. Your seat is adjusted, your steering is adjusted, your mirrors are also adjusted. This is the bonnet release lever, and here you have the boot and fuel lid release buttons. The boot, by the way, is not powered. It's a mechanical boot. Now the steering is leather wrapped. It's beautiful. It has paddle shifters. The stock is of a very good quality. You have all the cruise control and ADAS functions right here. These are all very familiar. Mode buttons, seek buttons. Then you have these buttons for your volume and for voice commands and for telephony as well. And here, using this OK button and these directional buttons, you can change the settings on that tricky speedo cum tacho. And let's have a look at what all you can do here. Now, before I start talking about the instrument console, you can also see an HUD. This car comes with an HUD. So that again is a fantastic feature. It's not as detailed as some of the other HUD systems that we have seen of late, but it definitely is something which is appreciable. So you can look at your speed and other important details without taking your eyes off the road. Now coming back to the instrument console, you go to settings, and here you can switch the HUD off, lane departure assist, collision control. All of these things can be controlled from here, and vehicle settings can also be controlled from here. The thing is that you have to long press it, so sometimes it can be a little bit tricky. You'd press it and you'd see that nothing is happening. So all of these things are here. Now going to the meter settings, here you can change the language units, all of that. The important thing here is that you have 3 different meter types to choose from. So as you can see here, so you have this first meter, and this is what it looks like. Then you have this second meter, and you have the speedometer at the center, and then you can also have the tacho and speedo. Now this tacho can be replaced by the energy bar as well, where you are shown whether you're driving the eco range or in the power range, or whether the energy is being recuperated. All of that can be done, but the settings, as I mentioned, can be quite tricky. So you also have meter style. You can have it in casual, smart, tough, which is this one, or sporty, which is kind of sporty. All of these settings are there, but I've quite forgotten how to change the meter from tacho to the setting that I was talking about, and it can be a little bit tricky. And generally speaking, there could have been simpler systems, like for example, I can go up and down in the settings also right now, and I can choose driving support, for example. So right now it's adaptive cruise control mode. Now I can choose audio or trip or energy monitor or whatever I want on the left hand side. So it can probably be a little bit easy. It could have been a little bit more intuitive. It could have been in just one single menu. There are multiple menus, and this is somewhat difficult. Also, an annoying thing is, while you're driving, it does not allow you to choose any of those settings, so you have to park the car, which is a good safety measure. But all in all, it is not as intuitive as some of the other systems that I have seen. Just my opinion. If you're someone who's good with getting into menus, probably you'll find it easier, but there definitely is going to be a learning curve. Now coming towards the central part, you have this wireless charger, you have two type C USB sockets, and then you have this specific USB for your Android Auto, and you have some space here for a wallet or a cell phone, which is very good. Two adjustable cup holders, so bottles of any size are going to fit very easily and won't wobble. Three driving modes: eco, normal, sport, and you can also drive in EV mode for a very small distance. Then you have electronic parking brake, and then if you open this armrest, there is massive space underneath. You can just put in whatever you have. There's just tons and tons of space here, and there's also a 12-volt power socket. There is a sunroof. This car does not come with a panoramic sunroof, so that's something that's missing. Also, you will not get ambient lighting. So this specific version, the Sprint edition, will get ambient lighting, and you'll be able to control it using the app, not with the buttons. But the regular Camry will not have ambient lighting. So this is a special edition, although that feature is also not working on this specific version. That feature has to be installed right from the factory itself. This is what the sunroof looks like, and here we have the controls, and this is by how much it will slide back. So that's the sunroof of the Camry for you. There are separate buttons for the tilt and slide functions. Then you have the lights here. These are LED lights, and you can turn them on or off individually as well. Auto dimming IRVM. This is the connected car SOS button. Then you have the illuminated vanity mirrors on both the sides. And then let's also have a look at the AC louvers. They are as sturdy as you would expect from Toyota. Very solid built. Piano black finish for the AC louvers and the central panel with this satin silver finish underneath. The inlays are very nicely done. It's not going to win any beauty contests, but it is done very tastefully. All of this is soft to touch material. This is soft to touch leatherette. This is also high quality plastic. And this here is the size of the glove box. As you can see, this has been crammed with a lot of stuff. So it is quite a reasonable sized glove box too. The seats are very comfortable, and the seat belts are also height adjustable. The amenities here are not worth complaining. However, a panoramic sunroof is something that a lot of other manufacturers are offering these days. Also, ambient lighting is a standard feature on cars which are from a much lower segment. So these are some of the features that should have been incorporated. The audio system is fantastic. They are not making very tall claims about the audio system, but it's a very nice sounding 800 watt 9 speaker JBL system. The sound is very crisp, very clear. And all in all, it also comes with a native navigation system. So all the features that you need, the luxury, the comfort, the solidity, all of that is there. In terms of out and out technology features, this may not be up there, but what I can tell you is whatever you see here has been built to last, and it's going to last a very long time for you. And generally speaking, Toyota, like always, have focused on the things that matter, and you do get a feeling of opulence here, but it's when the car is on the move that you feel the solidity of the car. And the suspension system really amazes you with its plushness. As I already mentioned, it comes with 9 airbags, so the safety is not a concern. But this car is essentially a chauffeur-driven car, and it's at the back seat where you would actually be able to enjoy this car the most, because this is not a driver's car. So let's sit in the back seat and see what are the amenities and the space there. Materials are all soft to touch. Armrest is soft to touch. There is enough space for a 1 liter water bottle, and you also have these manual blinds to protect you from the sun. Shut the door and you'll hear a very solid thud. This car is built like a tank. The knee room, thigh support, as well as leg room is more than sufficient. You have space underneath the front seat for moving your feet about as well. And this seat is very nicely contoured. You sit here and you realize that the contouring, the firmness of the foam and the comfort is a cut above the rest, and it does actually feel like a very comfortable place to be. Bring down the armrest and you realize that you have twin cup holders, but that's not important. You press this button and this capacitive touch control will come on. You have your third zone, the temperature for which can be controlled from here, and you can also recline the seat electrically using these two buttons, not just on this side but on the other side as well. That actually is the boss seat, and for the boss, the front passenger seat can also be moved fore and aft, as well as the recline angle can be changed with the press of a button, and this is by how much the seat will go forward to create acres and acres of leg room for you. And let me just sit here and show you how much leg space you'll have. So this is more than sufficient, I think, even for very long journeys. And with the suspension that this car has, the back seat here is second to none. You can recline your seat by this much. I just wish these seats were heated, ventilated and had massage functions also, but I guess I'm asking for too much. But these seats by themselves are very, very comfortable. As you can see, there is ample headroom too, and for people who are even 6-footers, there should not be any problem. These cars are not meant for loading people up, and it's comfortable only for 4 people on board. If you want to seat someone in the middle, as you can see, there's a very wide and high hump here, so not meant for 5 people. If you want to take them for medium to long journeys, also okay for short journeys. Another thing that you would be interested in knowing is that you can also use this button here for the rear sunshades, and you also have control for turning your audio off there. For changing the mode, you can change the mode from, as you can see, the frequencies can be changed very easily. You can change the frequencies from here, you can change or tune the tracks, and you can increase or decrease the volume as well. Primary controls for the entertainment are provided here. You also have this access to boot, and if you want to grab a small bag or if you have a small item that you want to grab onto, you can just bring this down and access that as well. The seats, as you can see, are 60-40 split, and if you want to extend the boot, that is also possible. So this seat is very comfortable, the installation is fantastic, and if you are someone who's chauffeur driven, then the Camry among the sedans is one of the best cars out there. It's second to none. It's really an amazing car to sit in the back seat of. A few other small things: you have proper 3-point seat belts, you have these 2 reading lights, you can turn them on both at once or one by one. Right now the doors are open, but you have these 2 reading lights, 3 adjustable headrests, you have ISOFIX child seat mounts, and you also have these 2 Type-C charging sockets. AC works fantastically well. You have these magazine holders. It's a very well made seat, and if you really want to enjoy being driven, then not just the seat, the overall engineering, the suspension and the insulation is going to make you feel like a king while you're sitting in the back seat of the Camry. Let's also have a look at the boot space here. You have a high mount stop lamp here, and as you can see, with 524 liters of boot space, this car has enough space to help you go out on a very long holiday with your entire family. You also have these hooks. You can see the subwoofer sitting right here, and the great thing about this car is that despite having a cavernous boot, it also comes with a full-sized spare wheel with an alloy. So it gets an 18-incher, a full-sized alloy wheel, which is a fantastic thing. Now, while this space is sufficient for a large family to travel long distance, you would do well to know that the boot space here is about 100 liters less than the Superb. Also, the boot should have been powered for this class of cars. This is the 360-degree camera unit. On to the styling then, guys, and this is probably the sexiest looking Camry that we have seen in India. Just have a look at this car from the profile or from the front or at the rear. It really isn't holding any punches. It does come across as a very sexily styled car. It is elegant, yes, but still very sexy and very sharp. And in this form, I'm pretty sure a lot of people will buy this only for its looks. Now, this car now gets these DRLs, which are C-shaped and also integrate the blinkers. You have these twin LED projector headlamps, which are auto high beam. The lower unit is the high beam, the upper unit is the low beam. And if you look at the grille, it now somewhat mimics the Lexus cars. You also get these fog lamps right here. And this specific car, as I mentioned, is a Sprint edition. So you have these black tone, and you also have this ADAS module sitting right here. The front camera is here. Position of the Toyota badge has also moved, and overall it not just looks very sexy but also very elegant at the same time. I quite like it. How do you like this car? Do let me know. You'll not get any of those black elements at the lower bumper if you are buying the regular Camry. This is a Sprint edition and it will cost you a little bit extra. Now coming towards the side, as you can see, the roof is blacked out. This again is a Sprint edition specialty. On the normal car, you'll get everything in body color, including the ORVM, which is in black here. The wheels also 18 inches, but here you have them in black. On the normal car, you'll have a unique machine cut design. You have 18-inch wheels with 235 section tires, and while the grip from these tires is fantastic, I think the tire noise was intruding the cabin a little bit more than what I would have liked. The ground clearance, as I mentioned, in laden state is 154 mm, and even over some bigger bumps I had no problems. It's not an SUV, so you'll have to be a little bit careful, but compared to some other long wheelbase sedans, I think it does a good job. Now coming at the rear, as you can see, you again have a blacked out extended bumper with Ford diffuser. This again is the Sprint edition specialty, and this spoiler also will be available only with the Sprint edition. You can see the pictures of the normal car as well for comparison. Just like the front, the taillight also has a lot of flair about it, and the entire lighting setup is very nicely done. All in all, I really think that this car looks beautiful. In terms of dimensions, the Škoda Superb, the current generation, is slightly shorter than this car, but that car has longer wheelbase. It is also wider and taller than this car. But mind you, that car is on its way out. The new 4th generation Škoda Superb has been launched internationally, and it's going to come to India as well. And the Škoda Superb with its new model is going to be more expensive than this car. Well, this car has been priced at 48 lakh rupees for its stock variant. This is the Sprint edition. It's going to cost you a little bit extra. And for 48 lakh rupees, I don't think there is any competition to this car. If you really want to compare it, you can probably compare it with the Audi A4, which is a smaller car. The back seat of this car is not comparable with that specific model. Also, the Škoda Superb right now, which is 54 lakh rupees ex-showroom, is available with a discount of 18 lakh rupees. So if you want to buy the current generation Škoda Superb, you can probably go ahead and buy it. It's going to be cheaper than this car in effect, but the sticker price on this car is rupees 6 lakh less than the Škoda Superb. And if you really ask me, if you are a chauffeur driven person, I think this car has a better backseat, and in terms of longevity, in terms of trouble-free service, in terms of resale, and with its current form, in terms of its street presence also, this car really scores very, very highly. The new Škoda Superb is on its way, and as I've always maintained, the Škoda Superb is also a fantastic car to drive. If you want something which you want to drive yourself, for the fun to drive factor, I think the Škoda Superb scores very highly. It's better than this, but for comfort, for fuel efficiency, for reliability, for resale, and generally for being a chauffeur driven person, I really think that Camry is one of those exemplary nameplates which have made their name not just in India but across the world. And if you're looking for a car, a sedan in this segment, you can actually buy this car blindfolded. There is absolutely no question that this is a fantastic car to buy. I really hope I was able to cover this car in detail for you. If you still have any questions, put them down in the comment section. I'll be very happy to answer your questions. If you like this video, and if you generally like such long format videos, do hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and until next time, this is your friend Amit Changani signing off. Rev hard, rev free, drive safe.